Eric. Welcome to Talking Famous People. Thank you for indulging me a little pre-show rock out session or whatever. So I got a question from a gentleman who is on the younger side. Sounds to be about 18 to 20, somewhere in that range. And he talked about getting friend zoned. The issue of love and relationships for the ENTP is very challenging. Now, you might have been born the Kirk. If you're born the Kirk, then you're probably fine. Alright? If you don't know who the Kirk is, he is a YouTube video maker that the only reason I'm particularly familiar with him is I get his video, the same one over and over and over again, in autoplay or in recommended videos. It's called How to Tell If an ENTP Likes You, I think. And it's got a ton of views, and most of the comments in the comment section are all like, "Oh, the Kirk, you're so handsome. Oh my gosh, you're so dreamy." It's just like chicks just going gaga over him or whatever. The first thing I want to talk about, I'm going to basically go over 4 or 5 different areas here. But the first one I want to talk about is the simple matter of numbers. The reality is, we have a lot of people in the world. And when we sit there and we muse upon this fact, it would seem, at least initially, that there are endless amounts of choices for us. However, then we start to eliminate some of the possibilities. Well, there goes my sister, I'm not going to date her. There goes mom, I'm not going to date her. There goes my aunt. All your relatives are out, right? You're not going to date them. And then you start eliminating some other people, like, well, I'm not going to date my boss because that could be a problem. I'm not going to date my underling because that could be a problem. Then you go, okay, well, who's left? Well, and now we should eliminate everybody else who's not available. So, obviously, get rid of all the children, get rid of all the super old people and the married people. Okay, now they're all gone. Well, we're getting down to a pretty small number of people. Now, let's say you're a straight man, a male, and you only want chicks. Well, then you can get rid of all the dudes, and now you're left with like 4 chicks. But you don't like that one because she's a bitch. And you don't like that one because she's super needy. Okay, well, those 2 maybe. But you got 2 possibilities now. You're down to 2 possibilities. Okay, so this is the first reality. The ENTP has a very limited pool of available options. You're looking for somebody that is acceptable to you, which is a fairly broad pool of people. At least it seems that way at first. Because you figure, well, I'll adapt, or whatever, it doesn't matter. I just need to lock this shit down. Because I'm tired of thinking about it, frankly. There's a lot of that for a young ENTP male who's not the Kirk. So here's the problem then. Even so, despite these odds, we almost all end up with some possible options that we end up pursuing. They're probably bad options for us, frankly, because the population of truly viable options is very small. Because what you really need is somebody who is, it depends on how healthy you are and how the other person is, but ideally you have somebody who is as passionate about you as you are about they, and equally true is somebody who shares some commonalities in terms of worldview, or at least aligns in such ways that it's not going to be open conflict all the time. So let's say you find that person, and okay, hey, this person is gonna probably be okay. That's an acceptable person. Let's say you've done something unusual for an interview, which you decide to be picky, rather than just trying to lock it down. I really think that the ENTP is a self-preservationist. We want a relationship for the purpose of having that set of life things completed, primarily, for the various advantages of having a mate. For a male ENTP, I know what I want most of all from a relationship is nurturing, affection, mothering. Basically, I want to be. I don't need the woman to cook, but when people feed me, it makes me emotional because it's like finally someone's helping me. I feel like that a lot about stuff like that, like all the times I just think, man, if someone would just come hand me a sandwich occasionally. I'm starving and I haven't noticed it. I haven't eaten in a long time. How nice would it be to have somebody care enough to come give me a sandwich? And to not judge me for it, just be like, I am interested in helping you. You seem to have not eaten in a while. Would you like a sandwich? That'd be great. For me, that's a fantastic significant other. You've already accomplished fantastic significant other status in my book. Or bring me a jacket when I'm cold. I'll sit outside and I'll be cold and I'll get the heater more on me and it'll take me hours before I get up and realize I should just put on a jacket. This is the sort of thing that I seek from a relationship. Somebody who's paying enough attention to me to help me when I need help and don't realize it, basically. So, we're talking about a fairly open person to a number of variety of options, at least when I was younger, for sure. But the problem I would have is the problem displayed by these next slides here. Bob, can you put those up? So here we have the ENTP male and the chick female, and she likes him. He's in luck. Good news for the ENTP. This chick thinks he's the bee's knees and she wants to get on him. Okay, well, she's given plenty of signs now, okay? She's done this. You're so funny, and patted him on the shoulder and rubbed his arm a little bit, and she gave him a card that says, I think you're special, and it had hearts on it. Or I'm thinking of you, or something like that. And the ENTP's like, pretty sure she's telling me that she's interested. However, it occurs to me, the roses on this card were orange. Could very easily be that she's symbol here, a signal that she wants to experience agape with me, platonic love. I better wait for a more clear sign. This was me. That was me. I was that guy. The problem is, girls confuse us, and we confuse them. Why is that the case? Well, we're overthinking everything. I meant to say this at the outset. We talked earlier tonight, I consulted with another ENTP about this to ask his thoughts on it, and his name's Scarcer, Jody Scarcer. Last name's not Scarcer, but I know him by his internet handle, Scarcer, and his name, Jody, and I don't remember what his last name is. Anyway, we're Facebook friends, and I was chatting with him, and he gave me this notion of overthinking, that the ENTP is likely to be able to see the signs if a girl is expressing that she's interested, but is likely to overthink them until the opportunity is passed. I have a personal story that is exactly that from college. So I'm talking about 24 years ago or something like that, and maybe 25 years ago. And there was a girl named Arwen, and she's a little short girl, and She had little stubby fingers, and I thought she was cute, and she liked me, and she made it very clear to me, and I was just too scared to do anything. I was terrified. I mean, look, when you think things that much out in your head, that's not what, sexy times is supposed to be, right? But for me, anyway, my experience is I never understood what, like, sexual desire was even, or or feeling attracted to somebody even exactly. I never really understood what those things meant, but I knew what behaviors I was supposed to display, and I made an effort to do so. And for me, my personal experience with sex in particular, sexuality, but the act of sex, is that I don't understand it until, or have really any thoughts about it or opinions about it or anything, until I'm engaged in the act. Like, it's not something I think about as, like, oh, I want that. Or what I used to think about all the time was, oh, I'm supposed to want more of that, and I'm supposed to act like this, and I need to be a man, and stuff like that. Which, to me, in my upbringing, meant being a douchebag, kind of. And I never was able to pull it off, frankly. I wasn't able to enjoy scoring chicks in that fashion. And the reason is because I am not interested in conquest, first of all, at all. I'm interested in a long-term relationship as a default matter. And I don't find it exciting to date a bunch of new people. I find it disconcerting. I would find it, I was doing stuff I didn't want to do because I thought I was supposed to. And I think this is a problem that may not be as big a problem now as it was when I was younger. I can't stress enough how much of a difference it makes growing up in a world with the internet versus without the internet. When you grow up in a world without the internet like I did, you discover that you are in some mighty insular communities. Some communities that are imprinting you with values that make no sense and are bad, and you don't have any way of knowing that. Because there's no outside world really to reference. There's TV, a few channels of TV. Anyway, so that's one thing I want to talk about, is how difficult it is to navigate the world of dating and or normal expectations and all that kind of stuff while carrying a burden of anxiety regarding one's own relationship status. It's difficult for any single person in this society to remain single for a long time and not be affected by it in terms of their own identity, especially for younger people. I know, I for example, I put together, I had a relationship for about 2 years when I was 18 to about 20. And that was my first relationship. She wasn't the first person I slept with, but she was certainly the first person I enjoyed sleeping with. And that's because I trusted her. However you feel about your own attractiveness to women, your own reproductive viability is a good term to use, because I think it's how we feel when we're not able to participate in the normal mating rituals that people do in a way that anybody might call remotely effective or nuanced or deft or successful, you know? And those things I have to say are as follows. First of all, number one thing that's going on here, no matter what else happens, is fear. We're so driven by fear. We're afraid to be alone. We're afraid to be unlovable. We're afraid to be unloved. We're afraid to be inadequate. In every way, shape, and form are we terrified of being inadequate. If you were like me, I should just speak for myself here, okay? I know this is my experience, and at my core, it still is my experience. I think on some level, it's everybody's experience. We are terrified of being inadequate. When I stopped drinking a couple of years ago, things opened up for me, and I got to sit there and look back at how utterly controlled I had been for my whole life, basically, by fear. And I found it mostly gone. That doesn't mean I'm some sort of transcended, enlightened person or whatever. Not at all. Trust me. Trust me on that one, alright? I am neurotic, I'm addicted to things, I got all kinds of problems. But what I don't have anymore is self-hatred or consuming fear or anxiety. If you think to yourself, I don't know if that girl's attractive enough for me, then you are really thinking to yourself, I don't know if I'm going to like the way that other people see me if I'm dating that person. And that's the reality of it. For an extroverted feeler, anyway. I'd put that aside. If you find the right person who meshes with you well, that should be a low priority. You won't regret prioritizing real things. You absolutely will not. My second wife was not conventionally attractive. She was not skinny. I don't have my Hilda. I don't have my Hilda poster, the Hilda calendar up there anymore. She's a big girl, and at first I thought, well, I'm kind of enjoying dating her, but I don't think I want to be with this person because I was shallow, and I wasn't shallow. I was afraid. I was scared. Anyway, she's a wonderful woman. I ended up being with her for a long time. And I remember that all other human beings, you mate with their humanness ultimately, and it's way more important than their body. It is. Anyway, so regardless of that, my experience since I've gotten divorced, if it's any consolation, is I guess where I was going with the other stuff is, I've had spectacular failures, primarily. So, for example, not that long after the wife and I split, I set up a date with a person I knew already, an acquaintance, sister of one of my best friends, is sister of other people I know. But I know the sister too. Anyway, we went out a couple times. Then her sister came over one night drunk and told me not to date her sister, and told me her sister was only going out with me because she felt bad for me for asking her out. So if you feel bad, like, oh my God, I couldn't even tolerate the awkwardness of that. If you're thinking that, as a matter of fact, you can tolerate the awkwardness of it, and it's not that bad. And it's not necessarily game over. Yes, I did successfully bring that to fruition. And I wish I hadn't. And I also I'm glad I did. Because the reason I'm glad I did is because those were the last of my insecurities right there. Was with chicks. I mean, really, basically, more or less. I left that marriage and discovered I was back where I was before that marriage. In my own head. Like, well, now I have to worry about this again. Now I got to worry about reproductive viability again. Am I reproductively viable? Are any chicks ever going to be interested in me? I started going through those sort of thoughts again, you know? And so I determined, though, I would never have a repeat of Arwen, where I was just too scared. And so I just, with the girl who I got spectacularly rejected by, first by her sister coming over and doing that. I asked her out again anyway, and she went out with me again anyway. And at the end of that date, she spectacularly rejected me, okay? Now look, what did I do then? I went home and I made a YouTube video. It's called something about miniature desalinization plants. I'll put a link to it for sure. In this video, I walk through the process of getting rejected by this woman and the date that we had gone on, and processing it for the purpose of goodness and truth, which meant at the end of that video I said, when you go through an experience like this, hold on, check that. I'm not going through an experience. This woman's not doing something to me. It's an experience we're sharing of a man who's a little bit unsure of what to do or how to do things, and a woman who is trying to be kind to him. That was my experience there. But you know what happened is the video I made turned out not to be just a gracious concession of defeat. It turned out to be a game changer, because then she started chatting me up and stuff, like sexy chatting on Facebook or whatever. So anyway, that went where it went, and but it didn't last very long because we weren't meant to be together, which is, she was right in the first place, and me using little media spells to woo her. I mean, it wasn't intentional. It really wasn't. I mean, I guess I had it in the back of my head, actually, a little bit, but it's only because once in college, I basically wrote this girl into my bed, and then was impotent with her. That was very difficult. I was extremely filled with more shame than I knew what to do with. But you know what? The reason that occurred is because I was doing things for the wrong reasons, trying to force shit, trying to make it happen that I didn't. I mean, that's the thing. We don't know how to do natural. I remember when I dated this girl I was referring to right there, early on I said, I want to talk to you about the possibility of sexual intercourse. And I said that because I wanted to make it absolutely clear that I was pursuing her sexually and not in a platonic sense. And it seemed like a wise idea at the time, right? Like, okay, that's smart. I don't want to and basically, if she's going to reject me, I want to get rejected. I don't want to get weaned, so to speak. And I think that's a reasonable thing to think. Of course, it was a ridiculous thing to say to her. You're not supposed to say that. I didn't know, really. I really didn't know. But I was, and when I said it, and then we started talking about it a little bit, and I clarified. I said, well, the thing is, I asked you out on a date, and to me, I've been trying to think about it a lot. The only difference between a date and going out and hanging out with a friend is there's the possibility of sexual intercourse at some point. I'm not saying right now, And then she's like, well, dating is mostly just getting to know someone. And I'm like, okay, hold on a second. What struck me was, look, those of us who are excluded from this process when we're younger, when we're teenagers, for whatever reason, either we're our own excluding ourselves or because, either we're deem us inadequate or whatever the reason is, we think that there's some sort of secret thing going on over there. I did. There's nothing going on over there. It's a bunch of censors. And the dudes are all trying to get laid. And the chicks are alternately giving it up or not, I guess. I don't know. But it's boring. It's boring, and it's a waste of time. It's incredibly time consuming. I put so much time into wooing that chick. Over the course of like 2 weeks, I spent, I don't even know how many hours wooing that chick. Either wooing her on Facebook or taking her out hiking or going to dinner or whatever. It's a lot of work. And the payoff is, it's only good if you're in a relationship. And I wasn't going to be in a relationship with this chick because she was an ISFP. So, that's why, did I have intercourse with her a couple times? Yeah. Did I enjoy it? I mean, I enjoyed the fact that I could do it. So okay, Eric, you can actually go after a chick and get her. But then once I got her, I realized that's not anything I need to ever do again, particularly because I don't need to prove it anymore. You succeeded. You betted that chick. Okay. Well, why did you do that, Eric? Why did you bet her? Why did you pursue that so much? You knew you weren't really a good match after the video you made there where you said, we're not really a very good match. Well, I pursued her for the wrong reasons entirely. I pursued her for issues with my masculinity. And no other reason than that. And lasting harms from unresolved issues from before my marriages. And I thought, okay, good, now I'm married, I don't have to ever deal with those problems. I never have to resolve them at all. Well, I did have to resolve them, after all. I'd like to think they're fairly resolved now, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be good with women or anything.